it would make sense to move to governments now. What is the demand for governments with AI? Is it the buyers? Are they the buyers, or do they want some regulators getting involved with AI? Or is it both? Is it governments becoming the buyers as well as the regulators? Or what is it in your mental model?
Well, it's really interesting. Governments, I think it's worth saying, have a few different challenges. One of those
Right.
challenges historically is that governments are incredibly slow moving. They
For
are
sure.
not particularly responsive to the people that they are notionally accountable to, in democracies at least, the citizenry. And so,
Right.
unless you're in a more autocratic setup, a monarchy, or some dictatorship or variation thereof, it's kind of hard to move and do things well and do things at an enterprise standard. And I'll pick on the U.S. here rather than anybody else, because I think that they're a good example. The U.S. is one of the most innovative countries in the world. It's borne
Right.
out in the economic output, and yet their IRS system update implementation is one of the most notoriously bad IT projects in history. The IRS was using punch cards, and as far as I can tell, they still haven't quite gotten off of them. There's still those representations, and there's been billions and billions of waste, and probably, if we're being honest, fraud and abuse in the implementation of an IRS system to do the most fundamental function of government, taxation. So
Right.
you take that example and you think of that as a paradigm for the government. Like, gosh, if these guys can't even get taxation right, which is fundamental to their whole existence, it funds everything that they do, it should be the most important thing if you're following the money. What are they actually going to be good at? Like, what is going to be functioning really well? And, I think the answer historically in the US, at least, has been almost nothing. The IT systems and their interactions with the bureaucracies that have been created in the US are just legendarily bad. And it's not to say that people are incompetent or ill-intentioned. It's just that once you build a bureaucracy of a certain size, it is a very slow turning ship. And I think that with particularly the construction of state and federal governments interacting with each other and also interacting with very local governments and all having incompatible systems, you get maximum friction. So,
Right.
the first answer to your question, like, what is the appeal to governments, is, well, gosh, maybe we could move faster. Like, uh, maybe we
Right.
could do something at like 1/4 of corporate speed or something instead of like 1/20th of corporate speed. If we're, implementing some of these technologies. And that may be true, or they may be kidding themselves. Like, we don't know
Yeah.
yet. I mean, it could be that the bureaucratic.
Unfortunately, the people in the government are the bunch that we spoke about. Either they are the economic naysayers or they are the technically naive. So even if they do try to fasten this process up, it's going to go slower with AI because they won't be able to figure it out than it would be implementing systems.
That's true, and so I think that it's the same as in enterprises. There's an appeal to the government productivity
Right.
impulse, and I agree with you. Like, it's going to be fraught with challenges. So that's one thing. But another thing is that the government has an educational function that's related to the services that it provides, and because those services are so complex, it's actually really hard to scale an organization to even get people the help that they're supposed to get.
Right.
And I think that LLMs are a huge benefit there, because they can take a virtually infinite amount of text content and render that down to a
Right.
question and answer bot that can be really helpful if it's grounded in real world materials. And so
Right.
I think as an information provision function, like LLMs
Mm-hmm.
are inherently appealing.
Right.
So that's another aspect. I think that
Mm-hmm.
another aspect is, perhaps a little bit more worrisome if it's not managed correctly. And this is one of the impetuses for Ambient, which is that there is a desire to take a lot of very manual processes that are currently approved by people
Mm-hmm.
of government in relation to government services and
Mm-hmm.
turn those over to LLMs for automation. So, in the US, maybe we're talking about your eligibility for Medicaid or Medicare,
Right.
or, your passport application, or, pick your process in which a critical decision requiring reasoning and supporting documentation is being made about your life. And
Right.
I think that there's a strong impulse to
Mm-hmm.
just automate those decisions because the organizations that currently implement them are so terribly inefficient that people aren't
Right.
being served at all. So if you look at the green card process in the US, people
Mm-hmm.
might wait 20 years in some cases to get a green card. And why does it have to be like that? Uh,
Right.
and I'm sure that's true of many countries in the world where, uh, people are suffering because there's no fast way to get a decision. And of course, this happens in the court systems as well.
Right.
Sometimes it feels like the process is the punishment in court.
Right.
Um, and so there's this impulse, well, let's just automate it. And where
Mm-hmm.
Ambient is concerned, we think it's a really terrible idea to automate things using private software.
For
Uh,
sure.
to make your decision making loops dependent on entities that are completely opaque
Correct.
and
Or
are
who want to
such
run ads, for that matter.
right or yeah or who are essentially unauditable entirely
Right.
because the processes that produce them are so complicated that without full
Mm-hmm.
transparency, which you'll never get, you would never understand
Mm-hmm.
how a decision was being made. And so, Ambient's
Right.
interest is to say, well, if we're going to do something like that, and we agree that it's important that a certain number of decisions
Mm-hmm.
be automated, let's just shine a light on what that decision making system is, how it was
Right.
trained, exactly how it was run, with what
Mm-hmm.
prompts, what information that it produced. Like, let's have a bare minimum threshold of quality here before we just
Right.
embark on this adventure of civilizational scale.
Correct. I think the government just needs to, before becoming a buyer, become a regulator. And not even a regulator, they just need to stand with what model is more efficient for them for transparency rather than creating
Mm-hmm.
departments on departments for, I would say, private interest, right? So once we start standing with what is probably truthful or would be correct for that matter to become a buyer, is when they should get
Mm-hmm.
into the buying mechanism of auditing their workflows.
So I think if I hear you correctly, you're saying that they might benefit from having better understanding of the technology before they just dive into this.
Correct. I would say before they become a buyer, they need to first understand the playground. They need to
Mm-hmm.
find one, I would say, uh, a gem out of the entire trash bag that is there out there, and then find
Mm-hmm.
someone that they can collaborate with something as confidential as government data, and then proceed to become a buyer. So first, it's gonna be like a real estate find. You go through all the houses, pick which house that you
Mm-hmm.
really like, and then decide to buy the house, rather than buying the house and thinking of what to do with it, which is how government or enterprises approach AI.
Yeah, and I think that we should demand ownership in these things, and
For
that's what
sure.
Ambient is all about. Also, if
Right.
something is going to be created from an entire commons, intellectual commons worth of information, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe people should have an opportunity to share the wealth, like have ownership in that entity, like understand how it
Right.
functions, like appreciate which parts of the commons are being appropriated at any given time. Like that's all important. I think that
It's a fair
governments,
ask.
yeah, like governments shouldn't invest in technologies that are further segregating the commons, and even like they shouldn't offer private companies benefits from what should be private government data. And that's the other real
Correct.
concern that I have. And I see, like
Right.
anyone, I see all the deals that are being done, and it worries me.